Hey guys, we're out here in the apple orchard, looking at a row that we went through and we pruned the tops of. Um, so we prune all the apple trees right now in late winter and early spring, ideally before the trees start to come out of dormancy. As the days get longer and there's longer days of sunlight, the trees kind of have an internal clock and they'll break dormancy. So we're pruning all the apples now before they come out of dormancy. And the first thing we did in this row was we went through with an orchard tractor with a platform and two people on each side of the platform. And we pruned the tops. So a benefit of pruning the tops of the trees is to allow for sunlight to reach down into the lower half of the tree. And so the more sunlight you have reaching down to where the fruit is eventually going to be, you're going to have brighter, redder fruit and just more vigorous growth. So we prune the tops. A lot of times we'll pick one strong central leader that has fruit buds on it, and we'll kind of pick one on each tree as the central leader coming off the main stem, to keep the shape of the tree proper. And sometimes, like on some of these here, where we kind of chop the whole top off, where we have a lot of vigorous growth, and in order to keep the shape and not allow the tree to get so high, we made a more severe prune on top. So that's the first thing we do, is we prune all the tops to allow for sunlight, and we don't want the trees getting too tall. I mean, we're doing pick your own, so we want all the fruit, as much as we can, to be accessible to all you guys when you come to pick your own. So sunlight is one main reason we're pruning. Shape, like I said, and then just vigor. So when you cut a branch, and you cut branches off the tree, what's remaining is going to have a lot more vigor, and you're going to have more vigorous growth and nicer fruit. So on apple trees, all the fruit buds, or the vast majority, are on second year wood or older, right? So for example, this branch has a lot of nice fruit buds on it, whereas a branch, let's see if I can see one like this, you can see last year was cut here, and these smaller buds right here, they're real tight to the branch, are vegetative buds. So they're just going to be leaves or shoots, whereas this older, right, you can see below where it was cut, this is going to be a fruit bud. They're plumper and more pronounced.
All right, so as Colin said, some of the reasons that we're pruning our trees are for light to get through the trees. We have a pretty tall tree, so if you leave all of the first year wood with all just leaves, it's gonna shade out the bottom fruit. And this fruit down here is really important to us because we do pick your own. So it's really easy for everyone to just pick right off the bottom. So we wanna make sure that there's light getting to the way bottom of the tree. So we'll kind of prune off a few branches here and make sure that light gets to the whole tree. Additionally, we'll prune differently depending on the variety. So a gala tree is super vigorous, which means that it has a lot of energy. So it'll produce a lot of branches in a very short amount of time. So we'll prune that pretty tight. So we'll prune a little farther than we would maybe on one of our stamen trees or one of our Macintosh trees. So we're always making sure that whatever tree that we're pruning, we don't cut off too much so that there's not enough fruit. We want to cut off just enough so that the fruit left is going to be big and colorful and really nice for picking. So we start pruning in the winter after the plant has gone dormant, which means it's asleep. By the time it goes dormant, it's already released all of its energy into the tree. So these branches have energy, these branches have energy. So by cutting off some of them, you're reducing the whole amount of energy that's in the tree. So that's kind of your main benefit, and you want to do it before the trees wake up. So it's one of our first things that we'll do for a good amount of weeks here in the winter. And we have our crews out here cutting the tops and cutting all the trees, and we'll go through by hand and cut every single tree on the farm.
Right, these are kind of a modified tall spindle, so they're 5-foot trees, and the rows are 15 feet apart. Most of the trees we have are this modified tall spindle setup. They're all trellised, and we do have some true tall spindles as well.
These are trees, which means that they're on wires and poles, because these are a modified plant that have been bred for years to be able to be these smaller apple trees. So they need a little bit of a support system because they're kind of a smaller trunk. So we'll trellis them to keep them upright. And then with trellising and these smaller trees, we also need irrigation. So there are irrigation hoses. You can see the black hoses that are going through. That'll give the trees water if it's a drier year. And it makes sure that we are able to still have apples in a dry year like last year. And if we have rain, we just don't irrigate them, and they're able to take the natural water as well, which obviously is the best case scenario. So this is the best growing type so far for what we're doing with Pick Your Own and selling in our farm stores. And it's super easy, wide enough to get a tractor through to be able to mow the grass and make sure that everything stays nice for people to come out into the field.
Right. They're all on dwarf type rootstocks, so the trellises are necessary to hold the trees up. And you know, once the tops are done, we'll have a crew come in and start taking the branches on the bottom. We don't want the branches coming too far out into the row. We don't want branches that are vertical too much. And we kind of just shape the tree. So if there's too many branches in one spot, you can take them out. If you get a branch that's becoming, you know, too old, too big, you can take it out. And, you know, pruning, even if you have apple trees at home, pruning is essential for the health of your tree.